and welcome to the Kindred Essence Tarot, which has pick a card readings on subjects like astrology, karma, aliens, cats, trauma, emotional healing, and a lot of other subjects. This is a reading. Oop, my cat has just entered the room. This is a reading on past lives and on what past life you are still processing. So look at the three piles. We've got pile number one, the black stone right here. Pile number two, these crystal right here. And then we've got pile three. So pile one, pile two, and pile three. So make your selection and we will move on to pile one. All right, hello pile ones. Let's see your past life and how it has affected your current life and what we can do about that. So we've got the Eight of Wands in reversed, the Three of Swords. Oh, interesting. The Seven of Swords and the Hierophant. Oh, interesting. I'm already getting a very strong picture from this of what your past life could have been. But and then we've also got the King of Swords. Interesting. So first off, I was brought to the Eight of Swords, and I got that the first theme of your life that is still affecting you. Oh, let me make sure all the cards are in the frame. Is some form of incarceration. I also see, and I got immediately also this may have involved the Catholic Church. That's immediately what I got with the Hierophant. Incarceration, I also get death. Yeah, death. That's what I get as well too with the Three of Swords here. Incarceration, death caused by the Catholic Church, and going against the Catholic Church. And I see in some cases I get this image of almost a very, it could have been the Catholic Church, but a very oppressive figure. Whether it's a king, I see a father figure, but it's in a very oppressive figure. And I see that in this life, you have, from that, you have a sense of being very, very anti-establishment. Like very, like you have a sense of you're not a very big fan of organized religion because in some cases you could have been part of the Inquisition. So that you have almost this mixed feeling with authority. Sometimes you feel fearful of authority. Sometimes you feel sort of against authority, but but more often than not you have a sense of wanting to attack authority. And there's a sense of almost being in some, this could have been a repeated theme, because oftentimes we have lives that repeat a particular theme, of being almost like what I see with the Nine of Swords, a sense of worry about it, but also being a sense of being ostracized, and that could have included some witch burnings, like another attack. I see that some of you who picked this pile, you may have been like killed by the Catholic Church in one life, and then several more you were, witch like witch burned or an outcast because you were thought of as a witch. And I see this figure over here like watching you. So in this sense, it's almost the sense that you feel in this life of almost always being watched. You have this sense of there's a very much an ominous fear of authority that you carry into this life. And I get for you, part of your healing is to realize that it's not the same time frame right now. The church does not have the same amount of power, and authority figures do not have the same amount of power. But it's really entrenched in you, this fear and anger towards the church. Like you may be very anti-establishment, but then there's this conflicted feeling because a lot of people at that time were into the church. So you have this almost a sense of almost with fitting into society. Like, how far do I have to pretend to be something that I'm not to fit into society? Because there's a sense, because you could never be, because of the oppressive structures at the time, you could never really be part of like society, or because you were interested in different things like the herbs and the what have you, all the and then there's a sense of wanting to be like society, because at that time that was the only way to not be, to be safe and not to be killed, but anger at the same time. So it's like you almost carry that same conflict within you, and you're just like, oh, why do I have that, carry that conflict? So I think just maybe in dreams ask that part of yourself, or even not even in dreams, just ask yourself to maybe sit on a chair and just put a circle in front of you and just ask that part of yourself that was so ostracized, like make, let it come to you, and just make a resolution with that, and know that this is a different time. Um you're allowed to, like, be who you are at your core level. It just reiterate that to yourself. You're allowed to be who you are at a core level, and this time you're not going to be killed, you're not going to be burned at the stake, you're not going to be beheaded, or any of those things are not going to happen to you. Let's see if I can get maybe some. Maybe I'll pull some more cards as well too. So let's see. Oh, interesting. I got the King of Cups. That came out. So we've got the King of Swords and the King of Cups. So my sense is that I keep on getting this sense of that you have this mixed feeling of authority because of these past lives. It's like, is I hear that whether you've had other lives where there was actually a benevolent authority, because the King of Cups feels to me to be very benevolent. So it's sort of like, is authority is authority benevolent and loving and kind, or is it always watching you? Because you got the King of Swords. He's over here watching this whole situation, right? And he almost seems in this form of the card, he almost like he's almost surreptitiously watching things, watching you for a mistake. So over here we've got the authority that's loving and safe, but there may be some distrust too, because I also see the sense of neighbors turning each other in, right? Like neighbors um, turning each other in, saying like, "Oh, you are a witch. Or you're up to no good." Like people turning on each other, and then telling the king. Always a sense of being watched. I mean, you just look at this guy, right? You can get the sense of the way he's looking to the side. He's always looking. This King of Swords is always looking for a mistake. Always looking to see, oh, are you a witch? Have you fallen out of line in some way, right? And then we've got the Hierophant in the center. And then it's sort of like, are people good, and are they safe too? So, or is authority good, and are they safe? Or also, are people good? Are they really, if somebody seems to be, you know, loving and good, are they really that? Or are they going to turn me in some way, and turn against me, and get me, burned at the stake, right? Because it was always like very much like, you know, looking like people would turn on each other. So there's a huge distrust too, and distrust, or maybe even distrust of, like, of people in your lives. Like, are they, like, I see this conflict playing out in your mind from these past lives. Like, is this person the King of Swords? Is this you almost may have this conflict with people, like always trying to figure out, are they gonna be good, like loving like King of Cups, or are they going to be, nasty and behead me or turn me in like the King of Swords? So it's like resolving that. I see sort of a distrust of people as well too. But let's see if I can get some Gypsy Oracle cards. Okay, let's see. I got this one is okay. Wedding. So my senses from that is that because of this life, it cut you off your life before you could get married. That's what I heard too. Like, you were in some of these lifetimes where you went up against bad authority. It sort of, you may have died young. With, like, I hear 22 in some cases, 19. You may have been killed by one of these evil people. So I had the sense that they sort of cut off your life. Let's see. I got six from the bottom. Let's see, what card is that? We've got, yeah, sweetheart. It's like you were cut off from sort of getting your life started type thing. You're very much cut off. So there's sort of the sense of you were uprooted before you could truly have a life start type thing. Like they really cut off your life, these structures. And they did that, in my sense, they did that to like a lot of people. They sort of controlled people, and sort of stopped them from having a good a good life, and room too. And I get from that, it's sort of like the sense of hiding. I sense there's a sense of people in some cases try to like hide somewhere in people's rooms to escape this, and in some cases. But let me see if I can get some sort of spiritual wisdom cards to sort of infuse you with a different energy for this life. And I got um, regret. So I get this is an energy of sort of regret that you need to, because it might be it's sort of in your cells or your body, of just regret of enduring that, of basically having your life taken so, like, and other people too, like, but just like just that energy from that time of just sort of not living. No one could live their life freely without the oppressive regime of the Catholic Church, and just there's a sense of regret. So just releasing the pain of that, like, that was that life. This is now, and just releasing. That's what I see. Just this pain, and I see, to release this energy from this life, to almost sit down. I see you just sitting down in a chair and just making a circle, and just taking that aspect of you from this past life, whose life was cut short, who was just oppressed by this, this King of Swords character, by the Hierophant, and all the, and imprisonment, the early death. That just taking that energy, and just releasing it and resolving it, and releasing the energies of maybe brokenness that you felt in that life, and just giving yourself a healing energy, and just telling yourself, this is now. I take the lessons in that life, and now I'm living now, away from that energy of regret. All right, thank you very much for listening. That was pile number 1. And now it is time for pile number 2. Let's see what past life issues that you need to resolve, or what's still in your subconscious mind. Take a drink of water, and let's see what cards we have. Okay, we've got interesting, the Two of Cups, Gateway to Meditation, Four of Cups, Knight of Wands. Oh, interesting. Queen of Wands, Strength. Let me see. So I see different threads from this life, but I see this is very much a life where you didn't. I hear that there's different threads of for this particular pile, but one of the threads I see is that you did not want what this life offered you. There may have been a sense of, like, you had a lot of privilege, but you were a very adventurous spirit who did not want what was offered to you, and you really had the sense of just wanting to really get away from this life. You wanted to get away. You had a lot of obligations, and you just wanted to go away and do some spiritual seeking. And there's a sense of just being smothered. Like, the people, like, there may have been like a mother figure in your life that was very smothering. She wanted you to go down a particular path. You may have met someone like this again in your own family, or just endured the same dynamic in this life. But there's a sense of, what I get from this is, I really don't want people to tell me what to do, and I want to go off and do my own spiritual seeking. I do not want to be. You didn't want to be a part of what was going on here. And in some cases, I see it was sort of like, you may have been like a lot of royal duties, and people would think, well, why wouldn't you want that? But you were just a renegade who did not want this. You wanted to go within, do your own spiritual seeking, and you wanted to. And I also see another thread from here. You did not want. You were going to be forced into a marriage that you did not want, and you did not want it, and you wanted to marry somebody else who was not uh, um like prescribed to, like it wasn't, acceptable in the circumstances, so you left and you decided that your values were um, were love more than being in this, this constrained environment. And I see for some, you'd left this environment, but for others, you were you were constricted in this environment, and you always felt regrets because this is not what you truly wanted. But the core feeling that for all of you in this circumstance was, I really, really, really could not have structures tell me what to do. I really, really, really could not have the Queen of Wands. I see in this circumstance is a very bossy figure, and you really just don't like bossy people controlling you, telling what to do. You really want to move away from that. You like to do your own thing because you were so constricted, and it wasn't like so some of you who didn't escape the circumstance, you were constricted in it, and you felt so just stifled, so like your strength, your sense of being able to be your true self was taken from somebody. So the sense is you really don't like people, and it could be you don't like woman figures telling you what to do. It could also be male figures, just the overall energy of like you don't want someone to tell you what to do and trap you. I hear this word, you don't like to be trapped by other people. And I see this image, you've got almost an issue in this life with a figure, oh, I'm going to tell you what to do. You're going to do this. You're going to do this. And you're just like, nope, not having it. I'm, I'm not having it. That's what I heard, not having it. So, and that's the energy that you get. And I hear that's actually a good energy for the ones that stayed in this life and were constricted, and you had your life force sort of taken away from you. I see that with the Knight of Wands. It's just your whole life force was taken away from you. Um, like having that attitude of no one's going to tell me what to do, and I don't like bossy figures telling me what to do. Well, that's good. That's something, that's an energy that you need to have to assert your independence in this life. I heard, okay, 6, and then old woman. And I hear that, yeah, it could have been an old woman who really was trying to control you, and that same woman may be part of your family in this life that tried to really control you in this life. The same old woman, she may even be an old woman in this life now, or older than you, trying to control you. I see them as being almost one and the same. Let's see what else. And I heard, yeah, freedom. I heard freedom is important to you. And I got doctor, and I got something, maybe not literally doctor, but I mean, maybe some of you watching are doctors, who knows, but it's sort of like the sense of that people in this life, they wanted to sort of trap you. Oop, my cat is getting kind of destructive to the tarot pile that I arranged. But she basically like someone who wanted to put, what I get from, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm gonna have to take that away. But yeah, they wanted to sort of constrict you. Maybe your parents or someone in your life, they wanted to constrict you into a career that they thought would be good for you and make lots of money. And it was the same dynamic. If you're going to do this because that's the only thing, that's the only, I heard, that's the only thing you can do, because that's what proper people do. And you're like, no, I want to go in a different direction. I want to do the spiritual thing. I want to do the artistic thing. I want to do anything other than what you want to force me to do. That's what I hear. I hear that yeah, like that you want to you want to do anything other than what somebody wants to force you to do, because your life force was energy. Ooh, ooh. because your life force energy was so constricted and just so um so I hear from my guides say that's a good thing. Don't you may think, oh, maybe am I a little bit stubborn at times, and maybe you can be at times, right? But in other times it's a good thing, right? You just want to carve out your identity. Like, there may be issues of you really don't like, boundaries. You really don't like people infringing on your boundaries and and forcing you down like a wrong path type thing. You don't want your anyone, like your parents, your relationships. You don't like people. You may have attracted people, friends, lovers, even friends that want to control you. That may sound funny, but some people are very, I heard that controlling people. You really attract controlling people who just, and you just stubbornly like to stand up to them, and you like to tell them no. You like to say the word no. No may have been the first word that you've known. Here, let me. My cat is getting kind of destructive. Let's see another. I got 5 from the bottom for the Gypsy Oracle, and see what else we can get from this. Falseness. Yes, you feel like that. Oh, there's a cat there. That's funny. Just like my little kitty cat here. I see that you really don't like falseness within other people or yourself. Like, you don't want to be forced into a sense of falseness in whatever you do. Like, it's very important for you to be true to yourself because of this lifetime of just where you lost your soul, your sense of your independence, your ability, your will to go in a particular direction. So, um, yeah, falseness. It's important not to be false for you. That's something else to get sort of. Let's pull this card. And merchant. So the sense of that, what I get from this is that you for some of you that weren't constricted by this past life situation, you went off and you did something completely. You may have left great wealth even, but you did something really like adventurous, so you may have a very adventurous spirit. Like, it may have been in your parents in this life or just rolled their eyes like, what a crazy person to go off and do something. So when you've got all this privilege here in this life, you're just like, no, I want to go sail around the world. I want to like do something kind of risky. Like, so you may have a sort of sense of adventure, a very strong, maybe you have Sagittarius energy or something like that. Like, you like to very much get your adventure, and you don't like being tied down at all. It's something you don't like. And I hear my guides say, don't dislike this part of yourself. Like, this is part of yourself that you learned, and it's part of your soul, and don't be against. Don't try and put yourself in a box. Be be yourself. Like, be totally yourself, and that's a good thing, that you have that inside of yourself, that you've learned to truly be yourself. All right. And yeah, so that's what I get. I feel that pile number 2 is complete. I hope that you got something out of that. And I'm gonna grab these cards back. And now it is time for pile number 3. Hello, pile number 3. It's time for my pile number 3, and that goes with this stone right here. But my cat was kind of being destructive and grabbing the stones and taking them away. So I took it away so she doesn't continue to try and destroy my setup. But hello, pile number 3. We'll be talking about your past life and sort of the issues from past lives that you're still processing, and just sort of if we can find some resolution to that. So let's see what cards we have for your um, pile number 3. We've got the Hangman in reverse. We've got the Two of Cups in reverse. The Emperor in reverse. The Wheel of Fortune. And the 5 of Wands in reverse. And the 3 of Pentacles in reverse. So let me see. I heard I should clarify with the Emperor. and see. All right. So the Seven of Wands. So my sense is that this issue with a past life dealt very much with an issue with of control and sort of either somebody I hear almost like an uncle or a family member was was sort of a, yeah, I heard the word uncle, or some sort of family member. It was very difficult for them to have a position of authority. Like they had this, to see what else I can get from this. Like there is, so I get different threads for this pile in terms of authority. For some, I hear that there's an issue of um, just not wanting to be in the position of authority because some of the things that you've seen, like there's an issue of not wanting to become the emperor, not wanting to be somebody who's so um, like power hungry, because you saw a lot of, that's what I heard, power, you saw a lot of power hungry activity, and there's sort of very much an issue of not wanting to be that way, like wanting to get away from that kind of energy and not wanting to be that person. So you may have seen at the worst of it some power hungry people doing some very very awful things, and I hear that, and for some you may have that person in this life, or you may know them, and there's someone in your family that you're very cautious of. You feel kind of, yeah, and then there's somebody that in your family that you feel very kind of, what's the word, um, yeah, cautious of, very sort of suspicious of. And I hear because they had authority, and you saw this, so you saw, and they could be reincarnated in this life, so you're quite suspicious of this person, but there's a sense of really being afraid of out of control authority. Like you may be, when governments get out of control, and you see the abuses of authority, that may be very very triggering to you. And my sense is that in some, I'm seeing different threads within this, but you got away from this very negative authority just by the skin of your teeth. Like you figured out that they were gonna kill you, and it was just by some stroke of luck that you got away with your life. That's what I get. So that's why you have the suspiciousness of somebody in your family. But there's a sense of almost a relationship with luck, of like you knew in this life that you got away by just the skin of your teeth. So it's like there's a sense of, you almost feel like there's a sense of always escaping danger that you feel in this life, and you're just like, so in this life you escaped this negative authority just by the skin of your teeth, and you got somewhere else. You had a like I hear you had a life somewhere else, and it was better. It was hard. I hear that the work was hard, but it was tolerable. So there may be a sense with you of escapism, like always like, oh, needing to escape. Like you may be like always being need to, almost creating this escape plan, almost like like the sense of like escapism, like. And I hear what you need to resonate with, the energy that you need to resonate is, I am safe in one location. That's what I hear. I'm in, because you may almost have the sense of, also, what's the word, like being disbanded because of this, because you had to escape somewhere else. And almost in this life you almost have the sense of, I can never really um escape. Like I can never feel safe in one location. I always have to escape. Like I always have to escape, and I always have to, um you know, I can never feel a sense of safety in one place. That's what I hear. So I hear, for your affirmations, for your healing affirmations, it's like, I can be safe and secure and sound and strong in one location, and no one's going to, you know, um, no one's going to just, no one's going to take that from me. I can stand strong, and an authority figure is not going to, and you may have, yeah, there's I hear in some cases it's family member, but there's someone in your life you feel kind of like you feel this sense of shadiness about them, and you're just like you don't really want to get too close to them. You're just kind of like, and you can't quite understand it because you're like, oh well, they're not really doing anything bad to me, or they may be doing something. They may be. I hear in some cases they're a narcissist in some cases, but they may do something shady. But in a lot of cases they're not. You just kind of like you don't like them. You don't. But you're just like, why? Why do I not? Why do I have this feeling of looking on my shoulder at them and wondering what they're gonna do? And I just kind of want to get away from them. They don't feel safe. They feel kind of an icky energy I want to be away from. But yeah. And then let's see what else. Do it of the Two of Cups. Two of Cups. The Hangman. I see that this has a sense of, this is interesting when I'm getting like when you went away from this life, like work was hard, but it was tolerable. But it's like you had this, you really had a sense of, you thought that this would be bad at first, but then it was good, and you like you really developed yourself on this life, like you really got away from this, and you developed, like you developed yourself, and you, because when you got away from this you thought, oh, I'm just completely, I'm not fine, but you, like, I won't be fine, you thought, oh, things are just over, but you were actually able to develop a sense of resiliency, because you were able to really, by putting into this new situation, you developed this kind of resiliency. You were constantly not in the state of the hangman. You were constantly in a state of growth. So I hear that, just sort of take that energy from that life of just growth, and that sense of like growth, and I can do it, because it developed, because this life, it did something, two different things to your soul. It made you feel like, oh, I'm never safe, I can never be in one spot, I'm always escaping. But it did another thing. It created a sense of like resiliency too, like a sense of, like, I can develop myself. I can go into a new location and develop myself. So that may be sort of a conflict, because you have that ability to go to different places. I see you in this, like, having like I'm gonna go and do something else and develop myself. I'm gonna go to something else and develop myself. But there's also a sense of, but I can never find, like, I like that aspect of myself that goes somewhere else and develops myself. But then you also want to have this sense of not being, chased out of, or constantly going to a different location, and not having a place. I hear, like, not having a sense of place. I hear, but then, so you may be very interested in like travel, going to different locations, but also not having a sense of place. Like, you may, but I hear, take separate these two aspects of that life. Take the part that was very much the gem, like the gem of that life, that sense of, of reliance, self-reliance, and, you know, developing yourself and having the courage to do that. Take that part and take that part into yourself, but release the part of, of being chased away, and by a bad authority figure, and not having my place, and feeling like I can just be chased away, from my location, and over overbeared, if that's a word, by this bad character. So release that energy, but take the good parts, and yeah, take that split part and make it whole, if that makes any sense. And let me see if I can get I got 4 from the top. 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh, interesting. Embrace. Resisting change leads to illness. Accepting change brings about peace. So embrace the changes in your life. Release what you no longer need, and welcome the seeds of new experience. So yeah, so my sense is that is something either you're good at, or something that you have a conflict with. So I hear that just by resolving this life, you'll be able to resolve that issue between of change and leaving and staying in the same location. Like you'll be able to resolve that sort of psychological conflict within yourself. I hope I described that, what I was seeing in the best manner. And I got 6 from the bottom, and I also, yeah, that was 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Yeah. So illness is not a punishment, but a stimulant to life. So I hear illness can be a teacher, a companion, or challenge, but not a punishment. Still, sometimes its message isn't clear. Ignore the illness. Look for stimulation in the knowledge that you can heal in an instant. So my sense is that, some of you may be having like, just some health challenges. So I hear that, yeah, you can, maybe it's even, maybe your health challenges is sometimes they can even be related to a past life. So just maybe explore that if you're drawn to. And then 5 from the, okay. And I also got, it's important not to get stuck in therapy. Therapy is a necessary boat that takes you across a rough river to new shore. In time, though, you must step out of the boat and onto a new earth and never look back. So yeah, like there's sort of, there seems to be a theme of here of like sort of the relationship between stuckness and stuckness and movement and staying the same. And you're good at this in certain areas, I hear, but it's hard for you in other ways. There's sort of this split in yourself that you need to bring together. And I hear, yeah, you're doing good with it. I heard you're doing good. You're sort of mending the chasms between those aspects of yourself. And I also heard too, don't ask to understand the secrets of the universe, but simply know what this moment means. Let's see what this is here. It's easy to get lost in endless speculation, so today release the need to know why things happen as they do. Instead, ask for the insight to recognize what you're meant to learn. So yeah, again, I get the sense of just integrating schisms that were fractured in these types of past lives, and just finding a wholeness within them, if that makes sense. Um, and then I also heard healing requires that you admit the truth about yourself. Is there something you hate or something you crave? Are you an addict? Um, recognizing your struggles is the first step towards healing. So maybe you've gone to various substances to deal with this kind of sense of brokenness. So with any addiction, it's always, I mean, pretty much every addiction is about, healing some broken part of yourself that needs to be integrated. I mean, whether that's food addiction or any kind of, Netflix addiction or whatever it is, it's always about that. So I just see you bringing those parts of yourself, maybe in dreams too. Like something you could do is before you go to bed, ask yourself to be put into a good dream where you resolve these conflicts, right? Or even writing. I hear for some section of you that writing this out will help resolve it and resolve the sort of the fracture that took apart that came about in this life. So that's all I got for you, Pal 3. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful. And I hope that you have a good day.